Okay, I'm going to read from chapter 6. It's 1940, and Rebecca, her best friend, is Jewish, and Issy is Catholic, and this is what happens to them. Issy sat on a stool near the hearth, cradling her doll. Her doll's name is Katrina. She pretended to feed Katrina with an old baby bottle that had once been hers. It was the night before her birthday, and she wondered if Rebecca and her family could come over and join in the celebration, now that they knew about Hans. Hans is Issy's brother, but they've been hiding him so he doesn't have to join the Hitler Youth. Okay? She couldn't think of a reason why they wouldn't be able to join them. Rolf, that's her father, addressed his wife. It is a good thing we do not have a radio. Der Fuhrer has banned the BBC news radio station. Helga shook her head. What will be next? Will he ban music too? Rolf responded, Today I heard that rations are being cut. We will have to make do with less. Perhaps we can use some of the farm produce to barter for more coal for the stove or oil for the lamps. Helga replied, Yeah, we are lucky we live on a farm. Others are not so lucky. Rolf took out his violin and started to play a sad tune. Oma was already asleep in her rocking chair, and the loud snoring that was emanating from her open mouth seemed to accompany the violin, as if she were trying to sing in her sleep. Hans caught his sister's eye and imitated their grandmother behind their father's back, which in turn caused Izzy to laugh. Rolf was glad for the chance to hear his daughter's laughter, so he asked affectionately, What is so funny, mein Liebling? Oh, nothing, Papa. Then she thought, perhaps this was a good time to ask. I was just thinking that maybe I could have a birthday party this year, and we could invite Rebecca and her family. What do you think? Rolf teased. Is it your birthday? Yeah, Papa. Did you forget? Tomorrow is June 10th, and I will be 9 years old. He chuckled and said, Well, I don't see why not. What do you think, Helga? But before she could answer, there was a knock on the front door. Rolf stood up on his painful leg. With great care, he gently set his violin on the side table and motioned for Hans to go upstairs and hide. The pounding on the door became more insistent and was loud enough to wake Oma. Issy's grandmother's eyes opened, and she was instantly aware of the sound at the front door. Helga gripped her husband's arm. Be careful, Rolf. It seemed as if the sound of the clock ticking away the seconds echoed through the small stone house. Finally, Rolf moved forward, looking first toward his wife and then toward his mother and daughter. He dreaded opening the door and finding what might await him on the other side. When he was assured that Hans was well hidden, he gathered his courage and unlocked the door. The image that greeted his eyes was not the one he had expected. Rebecca stood there, shivering in the cool summer night's breeze. Rolf looked behind her, but seeing the yard empty, he ushered her inside and quickly closed the door behind her. She took a deep breath and cried out, They took Mutti and Papa. Even Opa, they are all gone. Her face was flushed from fright and from running the distance between their houses. She looked wildly around the room as if she were a trapped fawn, trying desperately to find a way out. Then she pulled a crumpled piece of paper out of her pocket and handed it to Rolf as she sobbed. Papa put me out the window and told me to run here. He gave me this letter to give to you. She was dressed only in a white nightgown with tiny rosebuds, loosely covered by a thin white robe. There were no shoes or slippers on her feet, and her little body was shivering with both cold and fear. Finally, her eyes focused on Issy across the room. Rebecca ran to her friend and buried her face in Issy's shoulder, dissolving further into tears. Issy looked up to her father, waiting to see what he would do. She felt a coldness rush through her veins and settle around her heart as the full weight of what Rebecca had just said sank into her young brain. She felt frozen with fear and completely unable to ask a simple question or even to put her arm around her friend. The Nazis had taken Rebecca's family. For the first time in her life, Issy knew hatred. She hated the soldiers who had taken her friend's family away from her. Helga asked, "What does it say, Rolf?" Rolf unfolded the note and read Samuel's message. It says, "They have come for us, surely to take us to our deaths. I beg of you, please save our child." Tears threatened his own eyes, but he had no time for tears now. As soon as he finished reading the words on the paper, Rolf threw the note into the fire. He watched as the flames destroyed it and then ordered, "Issy, take Rebecca up to the attic and show her where to hide with Hans. Then put yourself to bed quickly. Whatever happens, Rebecca, whatever you hear, do not make a sound. And Issy, do not let anyone who enters this house know where Hans and Rebecca are hiding." As the girls climbed the stairs, Helga reached her husband's side. "Rolf, will they come here?" He answered, "I think so. Let's prepare ourselves." After bringing Rebecca to Hans's hiding place, Issy had barely reached her bed before she heard another loud knock on the door. She picked up Katrina and jumped into bed, squeezing her eyes closed and pulling the covers over her head. As the front door opened, she heard her father's voice say forcefully, "Heil Hitler!" A gruff voice returned the greeting. She heard the soldier ask, "Where is the Jewish girl?" And her father responded, "I don't know what you're talking about. The only girl here is my daughter." It wasn't long before there were heavy footsteps on the stairs, and Issy knew what she must do. The German soldiers came into her room, and one of them pulled her covers off. She feigned being woken up. Standing over her was a German officer. Looking at her with stone-cold gray eyes, he demanded, "Where is your friend?" Issy's lip trembled, but she commanded it to be stilled. "What friend?" she said. "The little Jewish girl, where is she?" Issy asked, "Do you mean Rebecca? I'm sure she's asleep in her own bed." The officer looked closely at her, trying to determine if she was lying to him. In an even more menacing voice, he continued, "Little girl, where is your friend? Did she come here? Are your parents hiding her?" Helga and Rolf now stood at Issy's bedroom door, unable to move or even breathe, knowing all the while how little protection they could offer their young daughter at this moment. Issy saw the fear on her parents' faces, but she held on to her doll and looked the officer straight in his eyes. With an expression of stone, she spoke in a cool, even defiant tone. "I don't know where she is." The captain stood there silently, watching her intently for what seemed like hours. But in fact, it was only a minute or so. He turned away from her and ordered, "All right, men, search the house." A moment later, one of the soldiers called, "Captain, there's another bedroom here, but it looks like it belongs to a boy." When the officer left Issy's room, she slid out of bed and into her stockings. Then, holding Katrina tightly against her, she followed her parents into Hans's bedroom, where the soldiers had gathered. The captain was leafing through Hans's drawings. when he said in a grave voice, "How old is your son, and where is he?" Rolf answered, "He is 13, and in America with his uncle. He is an apprentice, learning how to work with electricity." Still the captain leafed through the drawings, and then he examined the books on the shelf, running his fingertips along the bindings of the dustless books. His keen eye scanned the neatly made bed and the dresser drawer, which was left open, still filled with clothes. Bravely, Issy spoke up. "They are my drawings. I like to come in here and draw. Sometimes I even wear my brother's old clothes. They make me feel closer to him. I miss him." The captain seemed amused. "Humph. And these books, are they yours too?" She nodded her head. "Ja, Herr Captain." "You must be a very precocious young lady. Here, read this for me." He pulled a book down from the shelf and held it out to her. Issy gave her doll to her mother and reached for the book. She opened it and read the words from Goethe's Faust in a clear and loud voice. "Only one of our needs is known to you. You must not learn the other, oh beware. In me there are two souls, alas, and their division tears my life in two. One loves the world, it clutches her, it binds itself to her, clinging with furious lust. The other longs to soar beyond the dust, into the realm of high ancestral minds. Are there no spirits moving in the air, ruling the region between earth and sky? Come down then to me with your golden mists on high. Give me a magic cloak to carry me away to some far place, some land untold, and I'd not part with it for silk or gold, or a king's crown, so precious it would be." The captain was impressed and laughed. "Ha! Well done, young lady." Then he turned to his men and ordered, "Continue your search." Issy stood there silently as the captain's eyes never left her face. She could hear the men searching the attic above, and every moment that she waited for Hans and Rebecca to be exposed seemed like an eternity. Yet she would not allow her fear to show while the captain watched her attentively. Finally Issy heard the men announce, "There is no one here. We've searched everywhere." The captain seemed disappointed, but he said, "Very well." Issy handed the book to her mother and took Katrina once again into her own arms. Then the captain looked back at Issy, his eyes penetrating hers, before he ordered, "Go back to bed, little girl." Then he turned to her parents. "I will see you downstairs." Helga and Rolf understood they were being ordered to leave their daughter behind. They hesitated for a moment, but then turned to climb back down the stairs. The other soldiers followed after them, but the captain walked into Issy's room and watched as she got back into bed. He took Katrina from her and looked carefully at the doll and saw the gold cross around its neck. He lifted the cross in his hand and felt the weight of the gold. "What is your name, little girl?" "My name is Issy." "Does your doll have a name?" "Ja, it's Katrina. I named her after Oma." Issy watched him carefully and saw a wistful expression cross over his face. On an impulse, she asked, "Do you have a little girl, Herr Captain?" He smiled at her perceptiveness, and his face softened. To Issy, he suddenly looked like any one of her father's friends. "Ja, I have a little girl. Her name is Frida. She is about your age. How old are you?" "Tomorrow is my birthday, and I will be 9 years old." He nodded. "My little girl is 7, but I haven't seen her in months. She is in Sweden with her mother." His gray eyes grew sad. Issy asked, "Do you miss her?" "Ja." He placed Katrina gently into the cradle and patted Issy's head. Have a happy birthday, Issy. You are a remarkable little girl." She didn't know what to say to that, so she just stared at him until he left the room. Then, quietly, she left her bed and softly padded her way to the stairs. She peeked down from the landing and could see Oma sitting in the rocking chair and hear the soldiers rifling through the cupboards. She spied her parents standing there, her father looking longingly at the rifles over the fireplace. The captain said, "Excuse the disturbance. If you happen to see the little Jewish girl, let us know." Rolf responded, "Of course, Your Captain." And it was no disturbance at all. "We are at your disposal." The captain sneered. "Yeah, you are. And this you should not forget." When the soldiers left, Rolf and Helga locked the door behind them and ran up to find Issy sitting at the top of the stairs. She said, "He has a little girl like me. Why would he hurt Rebecca if he has a little girl of his own?" Her father didn't answer. He just gathered her up in his arms and crushed her small body against his. He let go of her when his heartbeat returned to normal, and then he kissed her forehead. "Are you all right, Vater? Did I do a good job?" "Ja, you are very brave. Now go back to bed, mein Liebling. I will check on Hans and Rebecca. They will stay in the attic tonight." She heard him climb the stairs to the attic and call out to Hans and Rebecca, "It's only me. It's all right." And with that, she heard him lift the boards which hid the children. "I think you are safe now, but stay in the attic tonight just in case. Tomorrow I will go into town, Rebecca, and see what I can find out about where they have taken your parents and grandfather." In a small voice, Rebecca replied, "Danke."
Why are you reading that so much in the book? Is this all about selling the book?
Yes, if you'd like to purchase my books. But regardless of whether if you purchase them, I'd like you to talk to you about this time period. Does anybody remember stories of the war? Whether if you were a child or if you had somebody who was there in the war? Yes, and they had weren't like my husband's grandfather. I forget what they called him, but he was a warden, and he would walk around to make sure everybody had their blackout curtains. And you remember that?
Blackout warden.
Yes.
My husband's. I was just getting a red light.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, I was getting a red light.
In the First World War. Yes. Didn't talk. Yeah, it was pretty awful.
You could ask him questions. He would never answer. He said, "That's down top."
I don't. It was hard for them. It was very difficult. The book that I'm writing now does involve World War One, and so I'm learning more about that. Yeah.
He said, "Don't ever ask me any."
Sure. So in this book, Issy has her doll Katrina, who is a porcelain doll, and it too gets broken, like Regina's doll had gotten broken. But Issy and Rebecca eventually become refugees, and they take the broken doll with them, and they take it all the way to America. And Issy still has the doll when she's 85 years old, and it's still broken. And it is a metaphor for the girls, because they are broken from what they lived through. But of course, there's always a happy ending. So, of course, I'll tell you, the big secret is that the doll gets fixed. But anyway, there's a lot of mystery and a lot of secrets, and it's not all uncovered at once. Little things. There's two stories going on. There's Issy's story as she's telling the story to her granddaughter, Jace. Jace is 26 years old, and she's just lost her fiancé in a car crash in which she was driving. So again, she feels the guilt that she's lived and he's died. She was driving. So the two women, granddaughter and grandmother, work through this together. The grandmother, Issy, lives in the Smoky Mountains in Tennessee, and she runs a camp for orphans because there was a particular orphan she was looking for. Whether she found that orphan, you'll have to read. But that's why she has it. And there's a lot of interesting comparisons between the camp that she runs and the refugee camp that she lived in as a child. And you see, you know, you can really feel for the children in both generations, but you see the difference where they're being cared for at Izzy's camp. In the refugee camp, they weren't being cared for very well. So there's a whole, it's a saga. It is a family saga that goes, they lose quite a lot, but they keep surviving and they keep finding a way to survive and finding a reason that they're still here and to be able to give back to others in order to make them validate that there's a reason they're still here.
Did they come into this country?
Yes, they do come into this country, and in the 1950s they live by Coney Island. And so you get a whole look at Coney Island in the 50s and the early 60s. And there's just a lot of memories that would bring back to you if you read the book. They also fall in love with young men who end up going to Korea. So there's it's all your life. Just read the story and it'll bring back memories for you. But I love hearing your stories. So if you have any stories you want to share with me, I'd love to hear it.
Well, I had porcelain dolls, but they're back at my house in Colorado.
Wonderful.
And I kept them well, so I'm just hoping.
They didn't break? That's good. Very good. Did anybody else have a porcelain doll? You did? Yes? And yeah? Okay. What happened to them?
They're gone.
They're gone? Yeah.
Right here, ma'am.
Oh, good. Good. She gave hers to her granddaughter.
My father was in the First World War and he could never ever talk
I'm
about
sure that
Yes.
my granddaughter, she's working in Georgia now, so, and we're also, my daughter's going for a funeral tonight for a friend.
Okay. Yes.
I was going to invite you to our social, which
Okay.
happens at 3 o'clock.
Okay.
And for all the residents who might have special stories,
That would be wonderful. I'd love to hear it.
yeah,
Yeah.
you can do
If anyone would like to purchase a book, the older books are $10 each, and this book is $15. So if you'd like to purchase one to read or to purchase as a gift for a daughter or a granddaughter, I'll be up here and I'll sign them for you. Okay? Anybody else have any questions before? Nope? Okay, great. All right. Thank you all for inviting me.